What's going on, everybody? It's me, Ryan Monson, the host of Classic Buffalo, the podcast that aims to increase mental health through sharing people's stories, everyday people, famous or not. Anybody wants to talk, we're willing to listen, we're willing to share your story. So today, we are going to be talking with James Otha. He is a hip-hop artist in Indianapolis, really cool guy. Met a couple years ago, actually, and I wanted to have him on, just another artist that I support his music, and this is one of the best ways I can promote him, plus just the vibes that this guy gives off. He's always trying to be positive, always trying to be mindful, pursuing positivity and everything of that nature. We end up talking about mushrooms, we talk about tripping, we talk about weed, we talk about how to get started in music and just pursuing something that you're passionate about, even if you're not going to be making a lot of money at it. But it's going to be a good episode. So without further ado, this is book 32 with James Otha. What's going on, James? How are you, buddy?
I'm pretty good. How you doing, man?
I am good. I am so excited to have you on this because I like to consider myself a big supporter of your music. You're an indie musician. It means a lot because you've been supporting me. I feel like it's a mutual support. We were just talking about you liking to support local artists or liking to support people who are from the city. Let's just dive right into that. Why are you so passionate about supporting other people in their ventures?
That's a good question. I'm really passionate about supporting people because I believe that if I support you, that makes you more inclined to support me. So it's like kind of that olive branch idea that me supporting you is that hey, look, my ego is not big enough to where I can tell you that I like your stuff. And I can tell you that I want to spend money at your establishment, or I want to, support you in other ways that I can. It's so that makes it easier for, people or just humans in general, as a kind of defense mechanism, will put up that wall and not want to, communicate through that. But, when you extend that olive branch, you're like, hey, look, I'm trying to be, kind here and be, mutually supportive. And then people will kind of come more towards that because it's...
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a little bit easier for us to get into.
Have you always been kind of like that, or is that kind of a newer thing where... Yeah.
That is a newer thing, man. I'm 22. I just turned 22.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. Shout out to the Virgos, man. But, yeah. So
when's your birthday?
September 2nd.
Oh, I'm 17. Okay.
17th?
Yeah.
So you're a Virgo as well. But yeah, there's a lot of Virgos in Indy. It's crazy. When you get to know people, you'll be like, wait, you're a Virgo? And there's times you're in a room and it's just all of them. But so I'm pretty young and people tell me that all the time. When I meet anybody in Indy, I'm always like, hey, I like your stuff. They're like, hey, I like your stuff a lot. How old are you? I'm like 22, and they're like, man, you're just a baby. And I'm like, what? Yeah, I get it. I get told that at least 3 times a day if I'm meeting people. They're just like, you're a baby. I'm like, yeah. I guess so, but to me it doesn't feel that way. It's I've been alive 2 decades, so to me that's whoa, man, 2 decades is crazy. And then I just get told nah, man, wait a second, just wait a couple years. And it's so I've had my fair share of being a toxic person at times. It's because as a kid, your parents don't know how to raise you because their parents didn't either. So it's you're kind of just thrown into the world and been all right, have fun, fucking figure it out. But yeah, so it's it's a newer development, but I'm trying to, been studying monks a lot, and what the big thing that they teach is just be present. Don't worry about what's coming or what happened before. Yeah. Just worry about what's happening now, and it's that's super powerful to just be in the moment, and it's hard to do really. Right. Yeah, people kind of underestimate it, but it's spacing out is super my thing. I just space out all the time.
Right. How do you practically do that?
I've been looking into mindful meditation. It's just trying to be aware of all the little things that we forget about, in traffic, for example. It's really easy to be just agitated and just want to just chop somebody's head off. But it's in those moments, if you can be wait a second, that person's probably, tired from work and and try to just be empathetic to people around you instead of just assuming that everyone around you is just as lazy and tired as you are. Just be they're probably assume that people are better than what you would like usually assume. And it's like it kind of helps you get into that mode of like just being more positive and kind to people, I guess.
Yeah, it's kind of one of my shower thoughts has always been like how far we actually travel now. Like kind of, we used to just be like 1 to 2 miles, like would be a nut. Like you just go into town doing the quotes. But now like we're just like, yeah, you're 30 minutes away. Yeah, I'll come see you. Be like, dude, that would take like walking or carriage.
Oh yeah. And that's like, so you encounter more people in a day. Right. And so that's why people, I think, personally, I think that's why people think that the world is worse than it is because we encounter more messed up people in a day than they did back in the day. But it's like, it's not that the world's more messed up, it's that there are more people per like capital. Right. So it's like, when you go into town now, you see 20, 30 people at Walmart, and it's like back in the day going into town, you saw 4 people at most. And it's like you knew all of them and you knew their moms and their dads. And so it's like it's harder to assume they're bad people when you know their family. Yeah.
Did you grow up like in Indy, or are you like from like Ohio type of thing?
No, I've always been in Indiana. I was born and raised in a town south of here that's just not good. It's an awful town. I'm not gonna say it, but if you know by context, it's pretty much the only town south of Indy that's like got a bad reputation. And it's like, so yeah, I grew up there until I was like 11, and then my mom moved us up here, and like it was a culture shock because like in this small town in South Indiana, there wasn't a lot of culture at all. It was just like white people everywhere. Right. And it was like rednecks and like so it's like moving into a big city where you've got like cultures of abundance. You've got every culture you could think of here as far as like United States wise, but then also there's cultures from all over the world that come here to study and do stuff. So it's like it was a really big thing for me to be like, wow, there's other there is other cultures out there that I can be around, experience, and just like see. And it's not just like, Indiana.
How important is that to kind of expand your boundaries or like test those and to like encounter different cultures or just to try new things? How important is that?
I think it's super important. You got to like make yourself uncomfortable. Like at least once a day, just put yourself in a situation that you're like, you know what, I don't really want to do this, but let's see what happens. Like, what can I do with this opportunity?
Yeah. Do you have like a concrete thing where you actually did that before and it like kind of panned out?
So my current girlfriend, we have been going out for about a year now, and that's like the longest relationship for me. Right. Which most people are like, wow, a year is the longest. Right. And I'm like, yo, man, like I've been very selective with who I spend my time with, and it's like, some will say that that's good, some will say that that's bad. I don't have as much experience, but it's like, we met because she was buying weed off of me. So like, she came and like, we talked for a second, and then I got out the car and I went back inside to roll a blunt as one does, and then I got a text from her, and she was like, hey, I think you're kind of cute. Do you want to like go out sometime? And I was like, yo, bet. Like, so it's like, I was cordial to her, but like, I didn't really give any signs that I would even respond back if she texted something like that. It took a little bit of my just like going into the situation and being like, yeah, I'll sit in the car and like talk to this girl and like, whatever. Cause it's like, I didn't know her, but like she seemed nice. So I was like, I was giving her an opportunity and I took it. I was like, hey, what's going on? Like, da-da-da. So it's like, there's many other examples, but when you're sitting here and like, as soon as someone asks you to repeat something, you're like, I have no idea, They're like, name a time. And I'm like, name a time you had cereal. I'm like, dude, I can't even remember.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
Let's talk about being selective with people that you like, you hang out with. Like, how do you do that? And like, how do you do that? Where you're selective? Is there a characteristic you really look for, like in a person, whether just platonically, romantically, it doesn't matter. But like people that you either support or hang out with, like how do you know you want to be a part of your inner circle, kind of thing?
I think it's super important to look at how those people make you feel. I think that's like most important, because it's like if you're hanging around people that you don't feel comfortable hanging around, like there's a reason. It's because like we've had millions of years to evolve our brain, and it's like it's telling you like, hey, I don't like being here, get me out of here, and you're just like ignoring it, and it's like it's always a bad like first start. But it's like, just get around people that treat you the way that you would want to be treated, and that you can like, that you have mutual interest with, but also that they fill you out in the spots that you don't have,
Yeah.
A lot of my best friends, they are artists as well, like musicians, but their style, their like the way they look at life is completely different from how I do. But I cherish that because like the different perspective is what keeps me grounded and like making my decisions. In that moment, I'm able to, call back on info from, my best friend and be like, all right, he said this way, so maybe I can like switch it up and add like my own kind of instincts to what his outcome was, and maybe I can figure out something different. It's like just figuring out like problem solving really, and it's like the best thing for problem solving is to have multiple heads. Like two heads are better than one, and it's like so I always try to just think about what they would do in a situation I'm faced with, and that's like the kind of people I want to surround myself with are people I know would make that good decision in that moment and be like, yeah, I know what to do. Like it's like you've gotta like them, but you've also got to be able to be real with them at the same time. You've got to be able to like tell them like, hey, you're tripping right now, and like stop. Like you need to take a step back and like look at the entire picture, and they're not gonna freak out and be like stop hating on me, like they're gonna listen to you and be like, you know what, you're right, let me cool, and I'll talk to you in a little bit. And like I've had multiple situations like that with my best friend, and it's like that's important. It builds character and it builds strength in a relationship.
How if I'm a person that I'm like, man, I wish I had more friends, or I wish I had better friends, what would you recommend to that person as a way to make friends?
Try new things is number one. Like I said, we are creatures of habit. We don't like to do new stuff. So it's like if you're faced with a new opportunity, it makes you uncomfortable, figure out why it makes you uncomfortable and maybe face it. I mean, if not, then, look at what you already have interest in and see if there's any way to build a mutual bond through that. Like I said, some of my best friends are artists, and it's not a coincidence. It's because, whether or not it's pretentious to say that like certain people have a certain mind state and artists are built for artistry. Like I've never met like a guy that I thought was a true artist and been like, he doesn't really have an artist mentality. Not like all of them do. Some of the best artists in Indianapolis, I love to pick their brains because they think like artists. They think like outside the box, but it's still realistic and like in a way that they're like, hey, I'm just trying to like help you out, and that's super important. They're not in it for something, and that's what you need to look for when trying to start relationships, is people that are just like, yeah, like you're cool, I want to hang out with you and just like experience you as a person. And it's like that's important because most of the time people are in friendships and relationships because it's beneficial to them for some reason.
So let's talk about music. How did you get into music? When was the first time you started writing? When was your first time in the studio, kind of thing?
So my first time in the studio was actually a present from my mother for my birthday, my 13th birthday. She was like, we had just moved up here, and I was like encapsulated by hip hop. I was like, this is like crazy. Like I've never heard an art form that just resonated with me like this. Like I've grown up in a town with country and rock and roll and like alternative music, and it's like, some of that stuff I like, but there was nothing like hip hop when I heard it, and I was like, wow, this is like, I don't know. I heard it for the first time, and I was like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. There's nothing else that like will make me happy than this. And so it's like, I'm really hard headed. I've always been hard headed, and so that's why like, at 13, deciding I'm just gonna like rap. Your parents hate the decision. All of your friends don't enjoy the decision, but it's like, I've always tried to be conscious about like the fact that like not everybody owes you, no one owes you support. No one has to. Like I wasn't born so that people can give me support. So it's like to like get it, I have to deserve it. And that's where like the change kind of comes from. Is I'm like, I don't want to be one of those artists that people look up to and they're like, oh yeah, but they're like toxic and like look at all this bad stuff that they do on a daily basis. They just don't care. And I'm like, I don't know, I just can't live like that. So it's like, at that age, I just started making beats. I didn't know what it would lead to, but it's like I started making beats and then writing to all the stuff I was making, because like, I don't know, there weren't a lot of kids that I knew that were rapping. Like I knew some people, like I went to middle school with a couple people that are like, still doing stuff, but it's like, at that age, it's hard, to make friends and do it like that. But it's like, waiting a little bit to try to find people that you enjoy being around for a mutual subject is like you kind of need to do it. You need to get better at your craft to then be like, hey, like, look what I bring to the table. Like, we don't have to bring stuff to the table, but because we're friends, look at what I can do. Like, and then they're like, oh, well, that's interesting because I can do this. And then it's like, it's beneficial then, but it's beneficial for the right reasons. You're not in it because it's beneficial. You're in it because you're both on the same page. It's beneficial because of that. And that's like a super important step when going into like, trying to find friends in that, or like just doing something, like go into it because you like doing it. Don't go into it because it's beneficial. Because at the end of the day, if you spend 10 years doing accountant work and you hate it, that's 10 years of your life that you've been doing something you hate.
Yep.
And it's like, yeah, to get money, that's cool, but like, I'm an iron worker when I'm not doing music, so it's like I have a job outside of this that I use for money that music can't provide. But that's like, I don't hate it. It's another artistry. It's just that it's different from music. I'm working with metal instead of notes, and so it's just a little different. But I see the art in it, and I enjoy being challenged by it the same way I do with music. It's just that music is my passion. It's like, it's what I've said is what I'm gonna do until the day that I'm not on this earth anymore. Have been making music, and it's like, whatever that means to people at that point. If it means nothing, or if it it means everything to a bunch of people, that's not up to me. It's more just for me. I make the stuff, and then everything outside of that is like out of my control. And that's where it's like, I can promote stuff like we're just talking about, doing promotion for the album and stuff. I can, but it's like, at the end of the day, people are going to listen if they want to, and no like flashy trailer is really going to convince them, They've got to kind of like me before they know me. Yeah. And it's a hard part for like an independent artist, but it's like, it's a crucial part because it shows whether you're willing to like persevere through people being like, yo dude, you suck and you shouldn't do this, and like being like, yeah, I do suck, but I'm gonna get better, And it's like, I have a dude at work that told me that he was working on DJ stuff, and people were just like, yo, you suck and you should stop, and he stopped, and I was like, breaks my heart, dude. Like, yeah, either everybody can do it and everybody is special, or nobody is special. And that's the thing, is that like, people want to like, oh, this person has talent, or everybody's got talent, and it's like, whether you can appreciate it or not is the question. But it's like, that's the thing, is that everybody is special, and not nobody is special. So it's like, Jeff that's doing accounting in Wyoming, he could do whatever he wanted to do. It's just that he didn't push through those obstacles that life threw, and it was like, hey, you settled for this when you could have gotten this if you just kept going. But it's scary, like, especially I'm a 22-year-old, and like, through history, 22 is kind of old to like still be like, working a part-time job while trying to do like your dream stuff. Usually, like, back in the day, they would have accomplished whatever they were doing by now. But it's also like, people died at like 50 back then. Yeah. So it's like, I've got more time, and like, if I measured my success based on other people, then I would always be a failure. And like, that's not how I want to live my life. So I just measured on what I was yesterday, and it's like, if I'm better than I was yesterday, then I win and I can keep going. And so it's like, that's kind of the big thing. It's just like, if you're gonna pursue something, like, pursue it, really give it your all, because if you don't, then you're just gonna settle for something that's gonna make you like infinitely less happy.
I think it's like such pressure with just trying to find your passion as quick as you can, just in case something random happens and you get hit by a bus. Like, you don't get to pick when you die necessarily. Like, and so it's like, there's almost pressure for millennials / just anyone who's just like, I need to get it tomorrow. And I think the difference is like, you need to find it as soon as you can, but the success, the immediate success isn't the important part. It's just finding that you're like passionate about music. Go do it in your spare time as much as you can. It's not about becoming a full-time artist, even though you may want to do that.
Exactly. It's
just find your passion as quick as you can, so that you can spend, because then you die at 30, but at least for those last 8 years you were doing something you loved.
Exactly. It's like, if I died tomorrow, like, I wouldn't be upset. I mean, I'd be weirded out because I don't know what happens next, but it's like, I wouldn't be upset, because I'd be like, I feel like I did the best that I could for 22 years, and it's like, at the end of the day, I think that's a win. I can put a W up on the board for that. Right. And it's like, that's all that really matters, because like, whether you believe that some like omnipotent being like judges you after you die, it's like, you judge yourself every day. So it's like, that's more important to me, like how I feel right now, than like what's coming next. Because like I said, I can only live right now.
Right.
There is no like, I can't see the future. I can't, I can barely remember the past sometimes. And so it's like, I have to just like really rely on what's happening in front of me now. And that's, I don't know, I feel it's like an important step that you've got to get to in trying to like follow something.
Yeah, how did you like grow as an artist? Like being a novice, what would you recommend someone who's like, they just found out like, man, I actually want to pursue this music thing.
Yeah.
What did you do like in the beginning? Was it surrounding yourself with like-minded people who are in the artistry and just kind of watching and like learning? Or was it like, I'm just going to write as much as I can? What were some strategies that you'd recommend and that worked for you to learn like in your craft, regardless of the craft?
Yeah. I mean, at first I just focused on like the product itself, like, because it doesn't really matter, like, yeah, people are kind of like making a big note, like they're blowing up, quote unquote, with like shitty kind of quality music and like not very good like videos or like not very good song structure. And it's like, yeah, you can achieve success with that, but it's like, I wanted to get everything sounding right, and like I wanted to get the product, the finished thing, the best that it could be before I pursued the next step, and that's just me though. Like I felt like when I first started making beats, I got beats down before I started writing, and then as I started writing, I got better with writing before I started trying to do like melodies and like figure out if I could even like carry a note. And it's like, now that's my current thing I'm working on. It's just like, can I carry a note correctly? Can I like, how's my pitch? How loud am I? So it's just like, there's steps to it. I feel like everybody's always worried about the image of everything, especially nowadays. And it's like, that's the most important step, is the image. And it's like, yeah, it is. But like, I mean, also, I don't know, you can have, if I have this like perfect graphic on my Instagram and it like looks really cool, but then you go watch the video and it's like 720p and like it's glitchy and doesn't look good. It's like, what's the point? You did this really cool, flashy promotion and marketing, but like the actual product isn't even as good as the marketing.
Yeah.
And that's not something I want people to be able to say about my music, is like, oh, hey, like, yeah, man, that marketing's sick, but like the product, not good.
Yes,
not good.
You were good with the sizzle, but not the steak.
Exactly, and that's like, that's the whole. You gotta get the flavor, like, not just trying to make people smell stuff, like.
Right. Yeah, you're not into the fragrance business.
That's what I'm saying,
What's one of your like favorite moments, like in doing music, like something you won't forget? And maybe this is kind of similar, but like one of your favorite performances that you've done, because I think you have done like kind of concert type of performances before.
Yeah, I've been performing for like 2 or 3 years now, just doing performances here and there, and it's like best moments or just stuff I remember is like, meeting Jeremiah Stokes for the first time, and like, we've known each other and been friends for like a couple of years now. Like I don't even remember off the top of my head, because like I said, it's just like I met him, and then like from then on I was just like, all right, bet, like I like you, you're gonna be in my life, but like I don't really keep track of like how long people have been here, because like to me it feels like we've been brothers for like forever.
Exactly.
And it's like same thing with all the rest of my friends. We've been brothers since I met him, and like who cares what happened before or after. It's like,
right.
But like, yeah, like meeting Jeremiah was like really cool. Like I didn't know who he was, but like this dude's energy was like super cool and like very positive dude, and I was like, what, I like him, like. So like we hit it off, and like there was meeting like my friend James Oakland and Dre Dice, and it's like two fucking incredible artists. Like literally, like the reason I push myself so hard is because I'm surrounded by people that are like so good at what they do, and it's like, so like meeting them, and then like literally James said, he was like, yo, like if you're not working on like anything art related at least like an hour a day, you've wasted a day. And like to this day that has stuck with me, where I'll just like be in my room and be like, I've got to work on something, because like I feel like I'm wasting my entire life in this one day just sitting here and not working on something. So it's like, that's those were like super big moments for me, because I feel like they kind of created part of who I am now, because like meeting those people and like whatever squabbles I've had with those people have made us stronger friends and better people, I think. And that's the goal, is to like surround yourself with people that when you argue, it's not detrimental. It's it's a building experience. And as far as performances go, I think there's two that really stick out. The first one was when I was like probably 19 maybe, I don't know, 19, 20. We went to Hanover University with DK, and we were all there. DK, Orange Beanie, Bayum, man, Bayum's gonna kill me. I've been saying his name wrong for years, but there you go. And then just a bunch of other people. There's some acts there from like Mooresville and just other places, but like we're all this really small but like big university, because it's like this in the middle of the forest. It looks like the X-Men University Mansion. I was like, what? But we're there. They got this cool little stage set up, and I was like, all right, bet. So we get on, and everybody's doing their thing, and like I'm in like the middle area, and so I get ready to go up, and I get up there and I do a couple songs, and then this one song that I had on the set is about just like the situation that happened in Nap, and like it was just like this weird like female situation, and like at the end of the track, I don't even remember why I said it, but it was just one of those things when you get in the moment where you're performing a song that you made when you were really emotional, those emotions come rushing back. And I was like, in the moment, I was like, hey, can I get a fuck that bitch? And like every kid in the crowd, they're like, fuck that bitch.
Oh my God.
That's amazing. And like I found the video, somebody had the video for it, and I was able to post it on Instagram. I was like, dude, that is magical that like somebody was filming that moment, because it was like, it was so cool just to like have like this energy, and then I was like, I gave it out and they gave it right back, and I was like, it was a really cool experience. And then we did a show, me and Jeremiah and Ali Buckets put the show together at Square Cat, and it was like my first show putting together, well, not my first show, but my first show I felt like went really well. And like by the end of the night, we weren't even singing music that was ours. Like we had James Oakland brought his auto-tune mic, and we ended up just singing Kanye West Heartless by the end of the night, because we were just all like, it was lit. It was a cool experience, and it was really cool to get up on stage and have the crowd really like respond to like what I was saying and what I was doing, because I feel like the music that I was giving out, that's like what I'm holding back for Limbo, is like some of the best music I've made. Like everybody that I've showed has really been like, wow, like that is like that's not like what I expected from you, and it's like next level from what I expected. And it's like that's kind of what I like to hear, is that like expectations were met, and not only met but exceeded. And it's like, so yeah, those are just two like really cool experiences at shows.
That's awesome. Let's talk about like vaping, weed, and mushrooms, which are probably three things that are kind of a part of your life. How have they impacted mentally where you're at? What are the roles in your life? Thoughts on them in general, kind of the way society looks at them?
So I am a prerequisite this statement with, I'm moderately addicted to marijuana. Moderately. But it's not an addiction where I'm like itching. I'm like, y'all got any of that weed on you? I'm just like, you know, it's the same way that a kid gets addicted to ADHD medication. It's like, I can function perfectly fine without it, but I would prefer not to. Like, if at all given a choice, if someone's like, hey, do you want to go outside or you want to smoke a blunt and then go outside? I'm like, the second option, definitely. So it's like, if you feel like you're struggling out there with like a problem with weed, it's not just you. It's just like, it's how it is with drugs. You have to just be used to like, don't spend all your money on it, first of all. Like, I lived with somebody that was trapping for a long time, and it was like, so like I would see people that were coming in with their last $20 just to buy weed, and I'm like, and I did that at certain points, but it's like I was still able to pay stuff. It's just that like, instead of eating, I'd smoke a blunt, and it's like, that's not healthy, but it's one of those things that happens when you get really, I'd sit in my room for days and like do nothing but like smoke weed and make music, and it's like, that's not healthy mentally or physically. So it's like, don't let that overtake you. But like that's where mushrooms comes into play. I tripped shrooms for the first time in like 2018, 2017, and like we were up in Muncie, and they gave me like a 2.5 or something, nothing too crazy, but like it was insane, man. Like I've never experienced something like that. It's just an insane experience to like really, have your brain doing stuff that you didn't know it could do with just like this little like mushroom cap. So it's like, it's a very interesting thing to experience. But I also felt like even before I started seeing this, certain studies show that it can help people with depression. It can almost like clear out the clutter and like clear up everything in your mind. And it really did, because like, you know, after my first trip, I was feeling everything much more like the air through my fingertips, just when I moved my hands and stuff. Like, everything was enhanced. So it's like, you know, it's easy to like do that and then be like, wow, I want to get addicted to that. But it's like, it's not something that you would do, you know, every day. It's not something you can do every day. It's very tasking on your stomach, especially because the fungus itself is, you know, a fungus.
Right.
So it's like, you know, it's one of those things that if you have the stomach and the mind for it, especially the mind, because it like, that was what was the catalyst for what made me want to be a better person, was me like tripping my first time and then being like, wow. Like, I need to step it up, because like, it shows you a version of yourself that you don't want to see, and it's the version that like the judgmental version, like the version that is like the most judged and like has all the problems, and you're like, wow, okay, I need to fix this. And so like, yeah, from that moment on, I was like, wow, I need to figure out how to become a better person, because it's like, people are like, oh, just be kind or whatever, and it's like, yeah, you can do that, but it's like, it's hard. Like, you really, like, you know, there's times when like I'm pissed and I don't want to be nice at all, and it's like, right, but that's when like you're tested the hardest, is when you're like, I don't want to be nice right now. It's like, so you should be nicer, like, because if you're not, then you're not that good of a person. I like, not really, I'm not saying like being nice equals nice person all the time, but it's like, you know, you know, testing yourself and like making sure that like, you know, certain things, certain like just qualities are met, you know.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on just like where society is going with it? Kind of, are you kind of happy that it's like just coming along, like more states are like legalizing weed, like kind of, have you, I'm sure like the people that you interact with that do also smoke weed, they've probably seen the positive effects of it as well, like in their own life, because what you said, it like kind of helps with anxiety.
Yeah, definitely. It's a huge help for my anxiety, just because I'm an introvert, but I'm also socially anxious. So it's like, you know, if I have to go out with people I don't know, I do, just because it's like, it's much easier to try to operate that way, because I'm very like sporadic with my thoughts, you know, 1,000,000 miles per hour type thing, and it's like, you know, I'm always tapping my foot or something, so it's like I very much am just anxious all the time, and it helps just take that edge off and like leave me in a state that I'm able to make decisions easier, than like, I don't get overwhelmed very easily, you know. And society's going a certain place with it. I don't know if I want it legal. I don't know if I want it illegal. Like, it's better for people if it's legal, but like, just as far as like what they can do to it when it's legal, and like what they can put in it and grow it with, is like same thing they did with food. It's like pesticides. You
just don't know.
Stuff. Yeah, exactly. And it's like, you don't always know either if you're just getting it illegally, but it's like, unless you're like, you know, getting it for the first time, you know who you're getting it through, you know where they're getting it from, and it's like, it's a little bit safer, just, you know, I mean, unless you're doing hard stuff, like I said, because like nowadays people are cutting everything with fentanyl, and it's,
gosh, dude,
it's dangerous.
I mean, do they lace weed with that at all?
I mean, I'm sure people have gotten it laced, but it's like, it's one of those things.
It's mostly harder drugs, probably.
I would say so, yeah. I mean, unless maybe someone's just fucked up and trying to like lace people, and it's like, I mean, some people do, dude. Like, some people literally just are on Earth just because they want to like cause people pain and suffering, and it's like, you know, it happens, and it's like, I'm not mad at them. You know, if that's what makes you happy, you know, keep doing it. But like, there's repercussions. You know, there's repercussions for being bad, whether you think so or not. At the end of the day, like, you'll see stuff happen, and you'll be like, well, shit, like, that does kind of coincide with the fact of like what I was just doing, or like what I'm, you know, it's just little things like that. It's like, if they want to do that, that's up to them, but like, you know, you gotta suffer the consequences. There's no like, oh, why me? It's like, nah, man, like, you know why.
Did you ever were you ever on medication?
I got put on Zoloft when I was a kid, like 14 or so, and like, I looked it up myself, and I saw that it was like #1 in the United States at the time for like teen suicides, and so I just stopped taking it, because like, also taking it, dude, I just was like a zombie. I couldn't even like hardly work on music, because I just didn't feel anything. It was like very much just a numbness, and it's like, maybe that's like how you're supposed to be, but if that's how you're supposed to be, I don't want to be that. It's like, I'd much rather have these weird ass thoughts and like emotional like roller coasters than like just be nothing. And it's like, you know, but like I said, some people prefer that, and it's like, I'm not knocking you. If you take that and like that's your thing, do it. Like, whatever makes you feel like you're better. But it's like, that's not for me. Like, I I grew up with really weird family and really weird parents, and it's like I have a really weird just like background, so it's like I just can't like I have very much just become myself. I don't really want to be the dulled down version, and it's like sometimes it might be too much for people, but like that's the point of like getting around people that can check you, is because I know when they're checking me, I'm not gonna be like offended and be like, oh man, like you're just hating. Like, no, I understand, like you're right, maybe I did take this too far or whatever. And it's like, but that's the point, is to like have people hold you accountable and then try to learn from that.
Yeah, I think it's like I've been on Xanax before, and that knocked me out. Like it just was, I was such a zombie, couldn't think, almost like you're not vibrating, but like the tingling in your head, you're just like, and it was, my anxiety was pretty much gone, but at the same time, it's like when it would either wear off or whatever, it's just kind of like I couldn't do anything while I was on it. Like it just, the motivation was completely gone. And for me, like when I've been on like depression meds, it's almost like the issue is more so the trauma that has not been dealt with versus like, I don't know. That's my thought. Like I'm genuinely thinking about getting off my medication, because it's just like, I'd rather deal with my anxiety, because like a lot of my anxiety has been over unemployment. Like, and that's hard for anybody, but it's like, that's basically what it was. I didn't really have like just random panic attacks or whatever. It was mostly like, I'm unemployed, I don't know how I'm going to get a job kind of thing. And then depression was like, I've had a lot of trauma or sadness, and I just don't want to deal with it. So I like bury it, and it either comes out as anger or like, it's just, I will sit inside like all day or whatever kind of thing. And I feel like the meds, I don't know, it just curious and just intrigued of how weed and I mean just other drugs like CBD and just kind of how that plays into other people's lives, because it seems to be like a way healthier or medicinal, like the truer form of help for some people, whereas medication, it could be just pharma industry, not only at just like a moral level, but just like what they're actually putting in. It could just be not actually helping.
I mean, I think that it's important to look at stuff like, there's a reason that weed isn't legal in Indiana, and it's because Indiana is home to Eli Lilly, one of like the biggest pharma.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, like, they do a lot of pharmaceutical research there, and like they come out with a lot of drugs from Eli Lilly, and it's like, so yeah, if weed got legal in Indiana, they would see their profits plummet because people would turn to weed instead, because like I said, it doesn't work for everybody. Like my girlfriend isn't really able to smoke a ton of weed. Like she says that it gives her a little bit of panic, but it's because weed raises your heart rate. So it's like, especially if you're smoking a sativa and you're like energized more.
Different strains do different things.
Exactly. Indica is a Indica, yes. And sativa, you just like, it's a head high, but you're awake, and it's like. So, like, it works different for different... There's different strands the same way there is different versions of medication. Yeah. And it's like, for some people, like I said, it works really well. And for some people, it won't. But, like, the important thing is to just, like, not look at it like, I think that when you look at it like a drug or, like, something that's, like, bad, that's when you kind of think, like, oh, you're getting high. But it's like, nah, dude, like, your brain is balancing out, like, the chemicals. And, like, yeah, you're putting THC in there, but, like... There's a reason that it needs to be there, because you have a lack of dopamine or lack of serotonin, whatever, and it's like and some people just can't do it because of anxiety. Like I've had panic attacks while smoking. It's not fun. It's like I'm the version that gets random panic attacks, and it's like, so like medication helped, but like I wasn't on it long enough to experience if it stopped panic attacks. But it's like I don't think they ever really go away, and so it's like. The reason I've been studying a lot of monks is because they talk about just welcoming the anxiety, because like, you should be like, if you fight it, it's always gonna be there. So you're always gonna be trying to fight this thing that you can't do anything about. So they talk about just like accepting it and welcoming it instead of fighting it. And it's like, I've learned how to like not stop completely, but very much take the intensity out of a panic attack. Just by breathing, and like I'll feel this really hot, like just heat in my body as it goes down to my stomach, and it's like I don't know what it is, but like I just assume it's like the anxiety stopping and something going back to normal, and it's like because I feel better instantly. I'm like, oh man, like once I try to center myself and start breathing, and it's like like that mindfulness meditation. It's like just remembering to breathe, because like. Humans is rhythm. We're one of the only creatures that can hear melody and rhythm and put those things together. Like that's what's interesting about like hummingbirds. They have a song, But in music, if I take something that's like in an E and shift it up to its pentatonic its pentatonic chord, you can you can transpose something up or down, and it may not be on the same notes, but it sounds similar. If you do that to a song of a hummingbird, the hummingbird doesn't recognize it at all. It because you transpose, it knows the melody it did, but it doesn't understand anything if you transpose it.
Yeah.
Whereas certain animals can understand rhythm, but they don't understand what melody is. So we're the only animals that put those things together, and I think besides dolphins maybe, but it's
who play the drums, obviously.
Yeah, and so it's it's very interesting to know that we are a really exceptional species of creature, and it's whether or not we're put here for some crazy reason doesn't matter. It's how you treat people day to day, how you treat yourself, and how you interact with those humans that are outside of your body. It's important. That's all that really matters, because at the end of the day, if you die, which we all will, you can be hated or loved or talked about. It doesn't matter. You're dead. So after I die, you can do whatever you want with my image or my legacy or whatever. It doesn't matter. But it's while I'm alive, I want to try to make sure that I feel good about what I'm doing and what I'm going to leave behind. Mm-hmm. And so it's at the end of the day, I think I do. And so that's what is important to me, at least.
When shit hits the fan, what have you found has been really helpful to people who are in your life? Things that they did for you that you're yeah, that was really helpful when they texted me all the time, or they just they'd come smoke with me, or they'd buy my lunch. What was really when in your inner circle, what have others people done for you? They're that was really nice.
Me and Jeremiah get together every month or so and just talk about stuff. We talk about anything from shrooms and what we've seen on trips to male sexuality and how how weird it is and isn't, because society has kind of told you to be the straight male. You're just a straight male, and that's all you be, and if you go outside of that straight male bound at all, you're gay. And it's other men hold men to that so heavily, and it's so we like to talk about shit because me and Jeremiah both support the trans community, the LGBTQ community very much. Mm-hmm. It's I have friends that are that, so it's I try to keep an open mind that just because you think a certain way doesn't mean that that's correct, and so it's just because some people think that is bad or it shouldn't be done, it's it doesn't matter. It's that's not your decision. It's it's theirs. So it's I don't know, we get together and talk about everything, because it's it's so interesting to just pick each other's brains as I'm a white dude, he's a mixed race, so it's it's interesting to get that perspective of a dude that's he's black but he's light skinned, so it's he has a completely different experience from somebody that's dark skinned, and he has a completely different experience from somebody that's white. So it's but at the end of the day, he has both cultures in him. So it's it's just one of those weird things that we get together and talk about crazy stuff, and I appreciate that, and I like it, because it's it helps me get a perspective I don't have, and it helps him get a perspective he doesn't have, and it helps us both just be able to communicate certain stuff that especially as a male, it's hard to talk about certain stuff, because you're very, very afraid of judgment. It's I don't give a shit if you judge me. People do judge me all the time. I've had people yell at me in traffic, just because I'm walking on the sidewalk and smoking a vape. They'll be like, "Hey, you fucking vape!" I'm okay, cool. Yeah. But it's I appreciate that. I appreciate when Trey will come through and we'll just smoke and talk about how he's been down in where he's living, and talk about stuff that happened in the past and how you feel about it. But then a little reflection's good here and there, but we don't get stuck in it. It's we realize that it's gone, and you gotta just be cool with that being gone.
Yeah. With anxiety, it's a lot of times they say it's almost going with the wave, you talked about that.
Yeah.
Or if you're on a hill watching cars drive by, you can see it, watch it, and then when it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can definitely reminisce on it, but give it its time and then leave it, because that's what the whole forgive and forget means. It's it's not only for other people, you have to be able to forgive yourself, and that's super tough.
Is there a motto or a piece of advice you've heard recently or you've always carried with you that's really helped you?
My mom always had this sign on the door before we left, It was like on the back of the door, so you'd see when you opened it up, and it just said "Be yourself." And I think that that's like, she's always preached that to me. She's always just been like, you know, as weird or as different as you think you are, just be you, and you'll figure out that like a lot of people actually resonate with what you are, because we are all very similar. Just it's hard to see it, you know, because maybe our skin's different, or maybe like, you know, our face is different. Like, you know, it's hard to see it, but it's like we're all very, very similar, and that's why memes resonate so highly with people. Is because memes are a mix of comedy and nostalgia. We all have similar nostalgia and like comedic sense of humor. It's like, and it's almost generational. You can tell a meme is meant for somebody. Like, you know, the ones with the laser eyes and they're distorted and shit, those are littler kids. You know, the ones that are like the different Pooh Bears and stuff like that, those are older people. But then you have like the guy with the flashing brain each step, and it's like that's for like middle people. And it's like, you know, so it's like, it's one of those things that's just really interesting, you know, to like look at in people, is that we all are kind of similar. And so just like be yourself, you know, just like, I don't know, carry all your like trauma with you, but don't let that be you, you know. It happened already. Like, you're not the same person you are from a year ago, so how are you gonna hold like that against you, you know? How you, like, you have this new person sitting in front of you, all the cells in your body have been replaced. So it's like, what? How are you gonna be like, oh, well, like you did that? It's like, that was almost a completely different person, dude. Like, and it's like, I'm not saying I didn't do it, but like, you know, I have to be able to move on from it as well. It's not just about like, I don't know. Like,
I know what you're saying.
Yeah, you know, getting tongue tied.
Yeah, Mahatma Gandhi. I think it's like Gandhi said something like anger or like something is like a gift, and then like you don't have to receive that.
Exactly.
So if somebody's like pissing you off or they say something to you, you have the choice to say like, all right, cool, dude. Yeah. That's not, I don't accept that.
That's your problem. Like, I'm not going to carry it on me. Like, yeah. I love, there's a Zen koans that I like to read. It's, koans are like, kind of like riddles that the really, really high up monks would give their students to just make them sit there and meditate on it for days. So like, there's a lot of stories that like, you know, blow your mind. Like, it's something so simple, and you're just like, what the fuck? Like, the one that like is super, just like, I don't know, it resonated really well with me was the story about these two monks that are traveling a road, and they come to a part of the road that's washed over by part of the river, and there's a girl on the same side as them, and the one monk offers the girl a ride on his back, and they cross the little river, and he puts her down, and she goes on her way, and they go on their way, and later in the night, they're sitting and about to go to bed in this little hostel, and the one monk finally, he snaps, he can't take it. He's like, hey man, like, you know, our religion and our beliefs say that we're not supposed to touch women, you know, let alone like a beautiful woman like you, like that. And you know, why'd you do that? Why'd you break those rules? And he's like, well, our beliefs also say that we're not supposed to carry things around. I put the girl down back there. How long has she been on your shoulders? And I was like, wow. I was like, motherfucker. I was like, yeah, that was a tough one. So it's like, you know, we, especially in indie, bro, like crabs in a bucket mentality as fuck. So it's like,
dude, I'll explain that, because that was one of my, I'd always hear that in like songs, but like when I heard what it actually is referring to, it's so cool.
Yeah, so crabs in a bucket refers to the fact that when you put crabs in a bucket, they'll all be clawing at each other to get out, and even if one almost gets out, the other ones will grab it and pull it back down to try to get leverage. So it's like,
so good.
It's a metaphor for just the fact that like indie artists and just artists from any local town love to hate on the artists that they're around, because they see them, you know, kind of making it up a little bit. And it's like, so they feel like they're getting skipped out. And because your success, I can't be successful. And it's like, you know, and that's not a good view to have, dude. It's very toxic. And like, you know, like I said, like, don't carry other people's shit on your shoulders. Like, they're doing good. Be happy to see people doing good in your own city, you know? Like, I love that everybody is getting like recognition, and like we have certain artists that are getting on No Jumper from here. Like, you know, we've got artists that are getting on like Hunter and like all the different like cool blogs and stuff like that, and like Lyrical Lemonade. Fresh Doja just did the beat for Untitled Chapter, and it's like, you know, there's a lot of success that's happening in indie, and there's no reason to be like, you know, upset about it. There's no reason that like, because they're being successful, that's gonna like not let you be successful. It's like, no, dude, if you're talented and like you're working towards your stuff, it'll happen. You just gotta be patient. And it's like people lose that because they see other people like almost getting out, and they're like, I want to get out.
Yeah.
So it's like,
you're in competition with yourself, not with other people.
Exactly. Yeah.
To be the best person that you can be.
Yeah.
You know, what you're called to do, if you want to quote it, but just what your soul's like, I got to do X, Y, Z. Like, you're in competition to just be in pursuit of that.
Yeah. I mean, everybody has one. Everybody has something that they're like, I want to do this so bad. And it's like, you know, some people are lucky enough. And that's really what it comes down to, is luck. Like, you know, you can be as skillful as you want, but it's like, it really, in this world, it sucks, but it's like who you know and where you're at a certain time can it can make your entire career. Mm-hmm. And in whatever industry you're wanting to get into. And that's the thing, is that it's not just an entertainment industry thing. It's like, you know, if you want to get into a certain like law firm and you meet the right guy at a coffee shop, you know, that can be an opening door. But it's like, it's one of those things. It's like you got to be at the right place, right time, know the right people. And so it's like, it's luck, you know. Certain people get discovered and certain people don't, and it's like that's just the way it works. But it's like, you know, people that usually you can't do something for too long before somebody takes notice.
Yeah,
I guess
that's good. So we're gonna wrap up with our like fun 5, basically what I'm calling it, and then we'll have our last thing that we do. So our first one is, if you could have dinner with anyone in the world that's alive, and you can choose 2 people if you want, but who are you going to dinner with?
I think one of them off the top of my head would be, it's not the actor, he's an artist named John Wayne. Oh, one word. Yeah. I love John Wayne. The dude is crazy fucking knowledgeable. He's really skilled as an artist. And I would love to just sit down and pick his brain about, you know, mixing techniques and like what he does for his beats and stuff. But I'd say if it wasn't like him, like Bernie Sanders or someone. Okay. Someone that I could sit down and talk to and like, you know, hey, like, what do you think about this? And they'd be like, well, da-da-da. And like, you know, they're informed enough on the topic to know something, you know? It'd be cool.
If you're going to go back and watch anyone live in a concert and you get to go like VIP backstage too.
Mac Miller. You don't even need to go any farther than that. It would be Mac Miller on any of his tours, because I didn't get to see him live. I've never really done live shows, so yeah, I didn't get to see him live at all. And I was like, big loud speakers and stuff is not my thing. Even though I'm up, I perform and stuff like that. It's like, when I'm in the crowd, I'm in the very back, and like it's not a fun experience usually. So I go to support my friends, but I don't really go to concerts. But yeah, I would love to go see Mac Miller live when he was healthy, doing shit like that would be so cool.
If you could have any superpower that's not flying or teleportation, what would you have?
I think I would go with something like The Flash, where I can run at like the speed of light. I've always been a huge Flash fan, and it's like one of the shows me and my little brother watch. It's like The Flash. So it's like, yeah, I'd love something like that I could just like run or vibrate my body or whatever. So it'd be like super helpful. What
would you use it to do?
Oh man. I mean, if I had destructive amounts of power, I'd probably rob banks.
Right.
It's terrible. You give me superpowers, I'm like, I'm getting rich, bitch, immediately. So yeah, that's terrible. But you know, I'd probably, you know, I'd do that. But also, like, at the same time, I would love to be a superhero. Yeah. You know, the admiration that comes with it, and like the respect that you get. So like, yeah, I'd probably like, I'd be running around saving people. You know, just like randomly popping up.
What's one of the most underrated food or restaurants in the city?
I have never had real Creole cooking, you know, stuff from like Louisiana, but Yats is my shit. I eat Yats every day, and it's like, I was talking to Aries, and he's like, nah. I was like, do you like Yats? Like, you know, just being a dude that's from Louisiana and everything, is it good? And he was like, yeah, man, it's cool, but like, it's not like the real thing. And I was like, man. So like, next time he goes to Louisiana, I'm hopping in the back of his car, and I gotta get some cooking from that. It's good.
What's your favorite part about yourself?
I don't know, my individuality. I like that I don't know, I meet people every day that remind me of myself, but I've never met somebody that like, you know, I thought I was a copy of, or like, that, like in the world and in music, like, I don't know, I hear people on the radio, like, I'll hear a song and it's featuring somebody, but I can't even tell the difference between the two featuring artists. So it's like, you know, some people have really similar voices or very similar like looking, and it's like, I feel like I look insane. I probably look like a crazy person walking down the street, and I feel like I sound just like a Andy Milonakis like stand-up wannabe. So it's like, you know, I don't know, like it's an interesting like thing to just be individual, you know, and not like, I've always been very against like trends, not because I hate them, but it's like I don't identify with a lot of it. A lot of it seems very silly to me. Doing like you know, internet challenges were really big when I was growing up, and I was like, nah, man, like this is dumb. Like,
yeah,
I'm not swallowing cinnamon. It's
not. God, I can't believe people did that.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not saying like, oh, you're idiots for doing it. I'm just saying like, you know, it doesn't sound fun to me, so I'm not gonna do it just because some people are like, oh, you need to hashtag it and do this and like that. And it's like, I did like the ALS bucket challenge because like it was for like donation shit, but it's like, you know, I don't want to do internet challenges. Like I don't know, it's just something that's not for me.
Yeah. All right, so this is the last part. You're gonna pick a person, significant other, family member, friend, and you're gonna shout them out, but you're gonna like, dude, thanks so much for how you've impacted my life in XYZ way.
Okay, bet.
Yeah.
Shout out to Trey, man. Trey single-handedly came into my life and showed me what it is to really like take care of business and like be a boss, you know, like, and not just like complain about stuff, but like, you know, see a problem and fix it. And like, you know, he just gave me a lot of motivation to like do what I want to do, because like, dude is just so powerful and like very talented. Like, he's an artist as well. Check out his music at Trey Watkins. He's on like Spotify and all that stuff. He's insane, dude. And like, you know, just stories I've heard from his life and stuff are inspiring. So like, shout out to him for just being like a dope dude and like, you know, just really trying to better the world instead of, you know, take it down.
There you go. So how can people find you?
You can find me pretty much anywhere at James Otha. It's James Otha. I know it looks like Otha, but yeah, that's my name. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Spotify, Apple Music, all that good stuff. Yeah, man, look out for this project I'm releasing here soon. It's called Limbo. I've been working on it for a while. It's like a whole year. We got a video dropping for the single Repeat soon. So check that out on YouTube.
Thanks so much, man, for joining me.
Thank you.
It's a long time coming for you to be on here, and so it's one of the best ways I can shout you out. So
thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah, it's been really fun. I like talking, so like, you know, this is my thing here.
Sweet, man. All right, bye, guys.
Peace.
Hey everybody, this is Ryan from the Classic Buffalo Podcast. Wanted to take a second to talk about Anchor, how I'm actually making this podcast happen. Super happy that I'm partnering with them. So, Anchor is actually the easiest way to make a podcast. I've done my research. This is basically the best way. I promise. It's going to give you everything you need in one place for free, which is the best part. It's going to have tools, so you don't really need a fancy schmancy recording guy. Anchor's going to be helping you out there, and then they're going to distribute the podcast everywhere to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, everything. And then you can also make money with basically no minimum listenership, which is kind of rare. So hop on Anchor as soon as you can. Thanks. So I just got done talking with James about his life. We were shooting a little bit of the breeze today, and you got to hear a little bit about that. Seriously, guys, if you want to support any artist that you know, friend or James, stream their music. They do get paid that way. I'm not sure what the pay structure is or what like that, but that's the best way you can support somebody, is even if they make like YouTube videos, is by watching their videos. But with music, it's different, because music, you can like just consistently boom, 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 listen to a lot of their music like every day. Like there's a lot of artists that I support that I listen to them every day, just as much as I listen to Drake or Kendrick or whoever. I listen to their music on Spotify, and so that does help just get their music out there. I think they get a little bit of kickback as well. So Limbo should be coming out. I'm not sure if it's out just yet. We recorded the episode a couple months back, but it should be coming out soon. I know he just released a song recently, and it's really good. You should go check that out. As someone who has a very musical family, my brother and my mom both know how to play the piano, play the drums, all of that kind of stuff. Like, music means a lot to me. Usually, in my experience, it's just been like instrumentals. It's been lyrics. I've always been attached to people who can explain the same thing that maybe a lot of people are talking about, but in a different way. And so, of course, everybody likes the top 40, but, it's really funny that he mentioned John Wayne, because John Wayne's also one of my favorite artists. And just lyrically, I don't know, there's just something about artists. I've always been drawn to words and drawn to encouragement or encouragement through words. And I love how artists can just put, even if they're talking about subject matter that's like, I'm just even like impressed if you're going to talk about sex, drug, weed, alcohol, whatever you want. If you can have a creative way to say something that's involved in that culture, I'm still going to either laugh or like, oh, that was so funny, or that's so good. Like, I'm just impressed by that. And it's really cool that James is able to stay around such a positive circle to really put himself in a place to succeed. And I'm really happy for him. And I think it's really cool to see someone who is doing a 9-to-5, but then also is doing music, and he seems to be pretty happy. I feel like you're pretty happy. That's a good sign. Like when someone's like, yeah, I could pretty much just die tomorrow. And I'm like, that would suck. But I'm pursuing what I love. Maybe that's the goal as a human, is just be like, man, if I died tomorrow, that would suck, or die today. But, I'm playing piano. I've got the friends I want. I've got, something like that. But it doesn't mean you have a perfect life. But I don't know. I thought it was really cool what he had to say about monks and stuff, especially having a girl like being carried on his back. That was like bars. That's where the OG bars are coming from the monks, and the whatever the word for riddles that he came up. I can't remember what it was called, but yeah, it's really cool. Just continuing to see how people from all walks of life, all different races, sexualities, all that kind of stuff, and see how they're growing. What do they do to grow? What do they do to help ease their anxiety and depression? For James, sometimes it's to get rid of anxiety, it's weed. Like I'd rather smoke a blunt and go out. I've personally probably won't ever get into that, just for my own reasons of just mostly smoking. Growing up, a lot of people smoked around me, and like the sense of smoke is really I have a strong nose, let's just put it that way. So there's a lot of smells that are like get to me. So I probably won't be smoking weed anytime soon. But my favorite part of this podcast is sharing everybody's experience. So one person, like, I cannot smoke weed because I get addicted to it. It's expensive. It's illegal right now, or it's, I just don't see the effects. For some people, medication's that way. For some people, I don't know. It's really cool because I think not one solution will work for everybody. And so that's why I feel like it's important to have this podcast to be unfiltered. You can curse if you need to, you can talk about drugs if you need to, I'm not promoting or doing anything. I'm just trying to see where people are at. And I think that's going to be a valuable experience to share. So, whatever works for you, if it meant you doing 100 jumping jacks every day in public, I'd want you to do it if it made you feel the best. But if it meant you had to smoke weed every 2 seconds, I don't know, maybe you have to do that too. I don't know. But and then obviously there's millions of options in between those two. But I hope this episode was good for you as it was for me and James. Like I said, if you want to support him, please do so through streaming his music. Maybe buy some music. I don't know if he has merch. I don't remember probably not yet, since the project maybe hasn't dropped necessarily. But go give him a follow, support him. Solid guy. And so, until next time, it's been me, Ryan, your wonderful host, who's trying his best to change the world through sharing people's stories. So if you want to be on, let me know. We'll talk about dogs. We'll talk about anxiety, depression, whatever you want to talk about. We'll talk about it for about an hour and a half. So, all right, guys. Bye.